President Obama did what's being called a summit on violent extremism, and he made some points that I want to take issue with here. Let's listen.
Leading up to this summit, there's been a fair amount of debate in the press and among pundits about the words we use to describe and frame this challenge. So I want to be very clear about how I see it. Al-Qaeda and ISIL and groups like it are desperate for legitimacy. They try to portray themselves as religious leaders, holy warriors in defense of Islam. That's why ISIL presumes to declare itself the Islamic State. And they propagate the notion that America, and the West generally, is at war with Islam. That's how they recruit. That's how they try to radicalize young people. We must never accept the premise that they put forward, because it is a lie. Nor should we grant these terrorists the religious legitimacy that they seek. They are not religious leaders, they're terrorists. And we are not at war with Islam. We are at war with people who have perverted Islam. Now, just as those of us outside Muslim communities need to reject the terrorist narrative that the West and Islam are in conflict, or modern life and Islam are in conflict, I also believe that Muslim communities have a responsibility as well. Al-Qaeda and ISIL do draw selectively from the Islamic texts. They do depend upon the misperception around the world that they speak in some fashion for people of the Muslim faith, that Islam is somehow inherently violent, that there is some sort of clash of civilizations. Of course, the terrorists do not speak for over 1 billion Muslims who reject their hateful ideology. They no more represent Islam than any madman who kills innocents in the name of God represents Christianity or Judaism or Buddhism or Hinduism. No religion is responsible for terrorism. People are responsible for violence and terrorism.
I know, man. Guns don't kill people. People kill people, right? That's the argument he's making. If you take out the word religion in that last comment and you put in the word cult, you'll see how ridiculous it actually is. You know, cults don't kill people. People kill people. Oh, really? So Jim Jones, when he had everybody drink the Kool-Aid, the cyanide Kool-Aid, and they died, it wasn't the cult that killed them. It wasn't the ideology of the cult. It was people killing people. It was a guy killing other people. So what? The ideology has nothing to do with it. That's totally not in the conversation, totally not connected to this in any way, shape, or form. What about the people who thought that the ship or something was coming behind the comet and then they all killed themselves wearing their Nike sneakers or whatever the story was? You know, cults don't kill people. It wasn't the ideology that killed the people. It was people who killed people. When you narrow it down to cult instead of religion, then people go, yeah, of course, the ideology had something to do with it. It was everything. The cult was everything. But when you make the cult bigger and it's a religion, then all of a sudden it becomes un-PC to say, the religion has something to do with it. Now, can you say the religion has everything to do with all of it? No, I think that's a little too strong in the other direction. You have to look at things on a case-by-case basis, and usually it's a soup that goes into it, right? So it's social circumstances, economic circumstances, political circumstances, poverty, a whole mix of all different things go into it. But the idea that religion plays no role in it, and religion doesn't kill people, people kill people, that's wrong, because what religion offers in many circumstances is motive, right? You can justify negative actions by pointing to specific things in holy books. Now, the thing that frustrates me to no end is you see this all the time on the right and the left, where they try to make it so that none of the bad done in the name of any religion counts for that religion. But religions don't get to dismiss the bad people in their ranks. They're both Christians. The people who fucking did the Crusades were Christians. The Norway killer was a Christian. The KKK are Christians. You know who else was a Christian? The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Malala Yousafzai is a Muslim. Malcolm X was a Muslim. You know who else is a Muslim? The people who flew the planes into the buildings on 9/11. Yes, religion can motivate you to do all types of different things, good things and bad things, all across the spectrum. But the idea that you can just declare that religion has nothing to do with it when the group you're referencing is telling you that it has something to do with it. Now, I get it, because what Obama's really trying to do here is he's trying to let moderate Muslims know that, dude, we get it. We know that you're not the problem, okay? Like, we understand that, and we want to stress that. But I actually think he sells the moderate Muslim short, because nobody's asking you to go out there and declare a holy war like idiot Bill O'Reilly did the other night and say, it's Christians versus Muslims, or the West versus Muslims. Nobody wants you to do that. But what we do want you to do, or at least I want you to do, is be honest in the sense that instead of calling ISIS violent extremists, no, you call them Muslim fundamentalists or Islamic extremists. Why? Because that's what they are. And it's accurate to call them that, the same way that you can call the KKK Christian fundamentalists. And by the way, they pointed to specific Bible verses to justify why they're pro-slavery. So this idea that the religion didn't, push them in that direction, it did. But it's true. Why is it that, oftentimes in progressive circles today, you see this situation where they're willing immediately to say, if there was a Christian terrorist attack, Christian, when an atheist kills somebody, they're like, atheist. But when ISIS kills somebody and they say Allahu Akbar as they're doing it, and they say, I just avenged the prophet as they kill the Charlie Hebdo guy, liberals go, well, hold on now. Maybe there's something deeper going on here. Be fucking consistent, man. Call everything for exactly what it is. Okay? If there is Christian fundamentalism and Christian terrorism, call it that. There was a Phineas movement shooting in Texas recently. You know what we called him when that happened? A Christian terrorist. Why? He called himself a Christian terrorist. What about Anders Breivik in Norway? He was a Christian terrorist. He called himself a Christian terrorist. So we called him that. So when ISIS says we're Islamic extremists and Muslim fundamentalists and terrorists, yeah, you could call them that. I don't think that the rest of the Muslim world is going to hear people refer to ISIS in that way and get outraged. And go, oh, how dare you call them Islamic extremists or Muslim fundamentalists? No, because you're being specific. You're not just calling them Muslims or saying that they're Islamic. You added the term fundamentalism, or you added the term extremist. So there is enough specificity there, and it's accurate. So to avoid doing that, you really are walking on eggshells when there's no reason to walk on eggshells. Now, the final point I want to make real quick is the right is going to pervert this. So I'm giving you what I think is a fair and legitimate criticism, but what the right is going to do is they'll essentially take my argument, what I'm making here, and draw a further conclusion, which is, see, that proves that Obama's putting his head in the sand and he doesn't understand the danger that this is. Absolute horseshit. To disagree with him semantically is one thing. That's what I'm doing right now. But to say he doesn't understand the real-world consequences of the problem, that's just absolute bullshit. Obama's done 2,400 airstrikes on ISIS. The idea that he doesn't realize that they're a terrorist threat and they're a problem and that they need to be addressed, it's just not based in reality. That's not factual. So you have to be able to be nuanced in this thinking and understand that you can disagree with the words that he's using, you can disagree with the way he's portraying the situation, while at the same time saying, he's using the wrong words, but he understands the problem and he's, trying to address the problem. And actually, I tend to even disagree with him a little bit in that area because I think he's doing too many drone strikes and too many airstrikes and he's killing too many civilians and he's not addressing the problem properly from a policy perspective. But he does understand it, and he does know that it's a problem, even if I disagree with him as to how he's addressing it.